Hi everyone! In this reading strategies video, we will be working on the writer's tone and purpose. Authors have a particular purpose in mind when they write. In other words, they want to accomplish an aim by writing a particular text. The purpose determines what they write and how they write it. When we understand the author's purpose in writing a text, we can more easily understand the stated or implied ideas in it. There are many reasons for writing. The author's purpose can be to inform, to instruct, to persuade, to criticize, to warn, or to entertain. Now, let's have a look at the examples. The first one. Give a person a fish and you feed them for a day. Teach a person to use the internet and they won't bother you for weeks. Here, in the first part of the sentence, give a person a fish and you feed them for a day is offering help to someone. But in the second part, he is using a humorous element to show that when you give people the internet, they will not do anything except for using it, and they can even forget you for weeks. So, the purpose of the writer here is to entertain. Now, let's have a look at the second one. The government was wrong to change the regulations on genetically modified food. Here, was wrong to change shows that the purpose of the writer is to criticize. Now, let's move on to the next one. This toy contains small parts which might be dangerous for children under 2 years of age. Here, might be dangerous shows that the writer's purpose is to warn the reader about the small parts of the toy. Now, next one. The Ford Mustang evolved from the Ford economy cars of the early 1960s. Here, the writer gives information about the Ford Mustang cars. So, the purpose of the writer is to inform the reader. And now, let's move on to the last example. Greenhouse gas emissions should be restricted because the growing store of greenhouse gases is leading to extremes in our weather and changing the long-term climate pattern. Here, greenhouse gas emissions should be restricted because the growing store of greenhouse gases is leading to extremes shows that the writer is trying to persuade the reader to produce less greenhouse emissions. Here, tone refers to the feeling or attitude that the author expresses about his or her subject through a piece of writing. The writer's tone can be one of the following. Now, stop the recording and study the vocabulary listed below. Practice 2. Identify the purpose and tone of each statement. In this practice, we will have 5 questions. For each question, we will identify the purpose and the tone of the writer. Let's start with the first question. Now, read your question. What is the purpose of this statement? Here, the writer compares a woman to an archaeological artifact, meaning that archaeological artifacts are valuable and archaeologists are interested in them. Here, the writer is showing a simile between a woman, and an archaeological artifact. The purpose of the writer here is to entertain. And the tone of the statement is humorous. Question 2. Now, read the question. What is the purpose of the statement? When we read this sentence, we understand that the writer is working as a babysitter. So, the purpose is to inform the reader. And the tone of the statement is caring, because the writer says, I care for them as if they were my own. Now, look at question 3. Read the question. Here, the writer says that high volume can lead to permanent hearing loss. And in time, although people can get used to it, it may sound normal, it can still be damaging to our hearing. So, the purpose of the statement is to warn the reader. And the tone of the statement is straightforward. Question 4. Read the question. In this question, the writer says that in our education system, we give standardized tests to our students. And if we carry on doing so, we will make them believe that English and mathematics are the only 2 subjects that we're studying. According to the writer, it is a misconception. That is, we give the wrong idea to the students. And that needs to change. So, what is the purpose of the statement? The writer tries to persuade the reader to change this misconception. And the tone of the statement is concerned, because we cause children to believe that that is normal by giving them standardized tests. Now, look at question 5. Here, when we say could have stopped the war much earlier, meaning they couldn't because they didn't work on agreeing on key issues, shows that the purpose of the statement is to criticize what the political leaders of the 2 countries did. And the tone of the statement is serious. Thanks for joining our video lesson today.